Today we look at the LavaLoon attack strategy and help you to understand exactly how to use it. Now there are a lot of different entries. I will be sure to explain everything that you need to know to 3-star with the LavaLoon, so let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel then, guys. I'm your host, Judo Sloth, and in this video we are looking at the ever so popular LavaLoon attack strategy. We had some pretty incredible examples on my live stream between INTZ and Queen Walkers. I do live streams on Twitch and Facebook, so be sure to join me if you wish. The links are in the description. Now, I like to bring educational but entertaining Clash of Clans videos, so I will be breaking down more attack strategies as well. Let me know in the comments if there's any that you would like to see, but I want to start this video by going over the different phases of the LavaLoon, how you can set up the attack, then we will move on to LavaLoon deployment, and finishing off with the spells and exactly how to use them. Now, there are a number of different entries to the LavaLoon attack, and this is the first portion that you will begin with. I'm actually going to show you 5 different entries in this example, but we will condense things. The key learning points are a little bit different when we get to the LavaLoon deployment. This is applicable from Town Hall 9 and above. However, do know that when we are discussing things such as the Royal Champion, you would have to substitute that with something else if you weren't a Town Hall 13. Arguably the most popular entry as of the recording of this video is the Zap LavaLoon, whereby what you are doing is using a massive lightning spells and earthquakes to take out the inside of the base. You always want to try and create pathing if you can in terms of a dead zone within the base, and then extend that dead zone with Sui Heroes. And this is an entry that you can actually use by itself, and I will show you an example of in just a couple of minutes. But for the lightning spells, we've taken out the center of the base. You want to try and take the clan castle if possible, and any other buildings. That could be enemy heroes, the Archer Queen, the Royal Champion. It could be the Eagle Artillery, scatter shots, maybe even air sweepers, something of great importance. Now, with the Sui Hero, that is just a hero dive, sending the heroes in to get value and then they go down. We are using the Royal Champion and King to the top of the base to take out this most northern compartment. Then the Queen comes in to take out the compartment next to this, and also the Wall Wrecker to take out the compartment by the Town Hall. And you can notice that the Lalo will then just be able to swoop around the bottom of the base. Now, we will be moving into the Lalo portion, like we said. Take a look at the deployment of the Wall Wrecker to get the air defense en route. Just incredible stuff. And again, what you're trying to do with the Zap LavaLoon is take out the core, the inside of the base, and extend that dead zone with Sui Heroes. Also note the sneaky goblins in the clan castle can take out the Town Hall and just leave you with a Lava Hound, which is essentially free to use then for the LavaLoon portion. Now, before we move on to the next entry that you can use for a LavaLoon attack, I wanted to show you this example because it nicely demonstrates how creative you can get with the lightning and the earthquake. I actually have an image on your screen right now made by one of the members of the community, which demonstrates for Town Hall 13 how many lightnings and earthquake you need per building. And it's important you know what the required amount is for your Town Hall level. Also, I want to very quickly note at this point, if you are returning to the video, you should be able to easily find the different sections due to the video chapters that I've put in this one. Now, if you are going to be getting creative, just take a look at the class that we have by Klaus here. Uses 3 lightning spells to take down the air defense, but also, very importantly, gets 3 lightning spells worth of damage onto the Expo and the scatter shot, as well as the Eagle Artillery. Now swaps across to the right hand side to take out the air defense on the right hand side with 3 lightning spells, again getting 3 lightnings worth of damage onto the Expo and the scatter shot, and he now has 6 lightning spells worth of damage to the Eagle, 3 on either side. Uses a 4th lightning on the left and on the right, so we now have 4 lightnings worth of damage onto the X-Bow and the scatter shots, and 8 worth of damage onto the Eagle. Granted, with an earthquake it only takes 7, however, he carefully calculates to take out all of the buildings using the earthquake because it has a bigger radius in order to hit all of them buildings. Then uses an earthquake up top to finish off the X-Bow and get a little bit extra damage onto the single target Inferno. Now you might be asking, well, the 2 X-Bows were on ground. Yes, but remember what we said. You want to create this dead zone, which he's done, taking out the Eagle, 2 air defense, scatter shots, incredible value, whilst also creating the pathing, and the ground X-Bows are then going to mean he's got less damage on his heroes, which are then coming into the top area of the base, meaning they can take that top area a lot easier. The defending heroes are there, again, key defenses, and this means that the entire northern area of the base goes down, setting up the pathing for the LavaLoon to come straight around the bottom. Amazing stuff. Very creative. You do want to consider the Zap LavaLoon method, but there's a lot of other techniques you can use to set up a LavaLoon, so let's move to the next. The next method that you can use is a Sui Hero. This is a hero dive. You send your heroes in, get damage, and then they go down. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this because it is the method that we just explained in the extension of the lightning and the earthquakes, but you can use it as a standalone technique. What you want to take out is either damage in terms of high value buildings to make the LavaLoon easier, or create pathing, or if you can, a mixture of them both. Now in this example, we are taking out the top area with the king, getting the town hall, which is crucially important, but also you might have to commit a couple of troops to this. We had a couple of balloons to help with the Teslas, the ice golem often a good one, and the royal champion came in delayed so that the gigabomb had already gone off. Now it is important to note that you can take a couple of troops in terms of funneling just to get your heroes where you want them, maybe an ice golem for that 15 troop capacity, but you don't want to take loads. The whole idea here is you're just using your heroes, get the value, then they go down. The bulk of your army is then the LavaLoon. So again, we're trying to get damage and pathing. So the King and Royal Champion have got damage and pathing up to the top, getting the Town Hall. Queen comes into the bottom area with the Ice Golem, a Super Wall Breaker, getting pathing, but also damage in terms of the single and the Queen. It's a nice example here because Stadra uses the Stone Slammer to then get the Scatter Shot, meaning that in terms of that pathing, the entire left-hand side of the base is down. We haven't committed a whole host of troops, which means the LavaLoon can concentrate on the right-hand side, and that's exactly what you need to do. Create the pathing for the LavaLoon, and then you have a huge LavaLoon portion. Obviously, when we get to that stage of the video, you will see that depending on your entry, depends on how big the LavaLoon portion will be. So we've talked about the Zap LavaLoon, the Sui Heroes. Now let's talk about my favorite and arguably the best entry, the Queen Charge. Now, if you are a lower level, Town Hall 9 and 10, you could use a standard kill squad. This is just sending some troops, potentially behind golems, to take out an area of the base, try and get pathing like we discussed, and also damage. It's essentially what you're trying to get with the Queen Charge here. But when should you use it and how should you use it? Well, you've got to consider how many point defense is going to be firing at your queen. If you are going to have, let's say, 4 X-Bows firing at your queen at one area, it's not necessarily a good idea to be using the Queen Charge. You've got to be able to get through the areas, but charging splash damage could be good because your queen will be good against that, whereas your Lalo is not going to be. Now, you might know that I paused the video here very briefly. It's because it raises a key point, and it is making sure that you hold on to your queen's ability if you can, but don't miss it. Now, Gaku uses that rage spell encompassing the queen and the healers, and you always want to do that with your rage spells to keep the queen alive. Now, wherever you are going to send the queen, you've got to set up funneling. Gaku does that with the royal champion and the king in this one, so the queen will come straight into the center of the base. It doesn't have to be the king and royal champion, it can be whatever you want. Arguably, royal champion's ability was probably a little bit late here, missing the single, but he's created that pathing for the queen to enter the base, using the rage spells where needed on the healers and the queen. Enemy queen going down here. If you can take the enemy queen, it is a must. Because if you don't, you've got to have a plan for her when it comes to the LavaLoon. She will take down your balloons incredibly fast. Now again, this is where I said, make sure you're calculating the point defense that will be firing at your queen at any one time, because that's where you're going to be struggling. Any single target infernos, again, that will be tough against your queen, but if you have splash damage, you can take that out. Just look at how many expos are on the queen here. If she didn't have that ability, she wouldn't have got through the Town Hall. But at Town Hall 12 and 13, the Town Hall is an important building. If it's Town Hall 11, you're probably looking at charging to try and get the Eagle. Enemy queen as well, like we said. Maybe even multi-infernos, that would be for Town Hall 9 and 10, but essentially you are trying to get good value and pathing. You're committing a lot of spells and troops, so you need to get good value in terms of then setting up for the Lalo. So what about the LavaLoon deployment? How do you deploy the Lava Hound and the balloons, and where exactly should you deploy them from? Well, it does depend on what is left up in the base. So for example, if you've left the Eagle Artillery, you haven't taken that out with the initial phase, you might want to try and prioritize flying in from that area. But often it does depend on the air sweeper and air defense placement. So in this example, the air sweeper points down to the southwest, and that is the main reason from flying in from where we do, so that we come behind the sweeper. Often you will see symmetrical bases. The air defense are down to the south of the base on this one. It doesn't really matter whether we come in from the left or the right with the Lalo. We'd get to the air defense and have the same coverage from the hounds. It's all about the air sweeper in this one, but you do have to take note as to where the air defense are, so that you do have appropriate coverage from the Lava Hounds on the balloons. Now you will notice that the balloons are deployed right across the side of the base, very evenly spread, and that condenses the fire into the middle. It's important to note as well that at Town Hall 12 and 13, the Town Hall being a defense means you have to activate it or have a plan. This one, we had the battle blimp coming through, very nicely done. Now, I will be sure to cover a lot of these points in another replay. Don't worry, guys, I will be covering it in a bit more depth, such as the Grand Warden's ability you just seen. But what you're trying to do is deploy the balloons in a way so that you can condense the fire through the center of the base. Keep the balloons on the inside. You don't want them tracking to the outside, so they can take down the main defenses and the main threats. And that's exactly what you see here, the main group coming to the wizard tower. That's why we had the balloons reinforced on the outside, to keep the main pack on the defenses, to take them down. It takes a lot of skill, guys, but let's break it down in a little bit more depth on the exact balloon deployment. Now for this one, you can see the Lava Hounds deployed at different angles towards the air defense to try and soak up as many of the air bombs as possible. Now remember what we said about balloon deployment, trying to focus their fire, clump them together so that they then work through the center of the base. I often describe this as a star. You don't want the balloons moving around the edge of the star. You want them just moving around the inner side, and deploy the balloons on the outside of the star to move in. I hope that makes sense, guys, but hopefully I'll be able to explain it right now. So look at the balloons coming in the right hand side, very carefully deployed, and we're trying to get down to this eagle. That's why we have the stone slammer, which is nicely tanking the scatter shot, and another group of balloons from the left, so that everything condenses together into the center of the base to the eagle to then move down over. If we weren't to deploy the huge stack of loons across to this right hand side, we would lose balloons across there because the defenses would not be down, and the balloons are defense targeting troops. So you have to take out the defenses successfully in order to control where they go. There's a couple of other tips that are really important for balloon deployment, which I want to show you as well, alongside when to use the Grand Warden's ability, and then we will discuss spell deployment, and I have a pretty nice surprise for you at the end of the video as well. This example is a little bit easier for you to see the balloon pathing because, as you can see, they're all deployed at the bottom of the base. We were successful in having a beautiful Sui entry to take this left-hand side, meaning that the balloons just path straight up. It's not as complex as the last one where we had to come in from different angles. So what it means is I can hopefully explain a couple of the other tips I have for you. Now, in terms of the balloons, what you want to try and get them to do is one-shot the defense. They move to the cannon, they one-shot it. They move to the air defense, they one-shot it. And the reason for that is balloons hit their first strike quicker than they do any of the others. So take advantage of that. Try and have enough balloons on one defense where they hit it, it goes down. And you also want to try and then forward plan. Can you then move on to an expo and take that down quick enough as well? But really just concentrate on the outside. Maybe 3 to 4 balloons on the defenses on the outside is what most people will suggest in terms of the balloon deployment initially. Maybe just plan for 3 to 4 per defense as they move in and clump together. You'll then naturally get that strike onto the expo, for example, which requires 5 in order to take it down. You don't have to take it that far, guys. You can if you wish, but in terms of just getting the simplicity, 3 per defense is generally quite good. Now notice to the end of this attack, the Grand Warden's ability still intact. And this is important because if you can take the Town Hall as part of your initial entry, it means that your Grand Warden's ability can be used anywhere. Now, you want to use that in the areas where they are going to take the most damage, and that is the balloons I talk of, but also if they are about to split. So what can often happen is your balloons will be moving through a certain area of the base, and you'll hit a point where the balloons are going to fan back out. Use the Grand Warden's ability before that, because you'll hit all of the balloons as they move out. Also, if you're a Town Hall 11 or above, you probably want to try and time the Grand Warden's ability as the Eagle artillery fire is coming down as well. So we've discussed the entry to the LavaLoon attack, whether that be a Queen Charge, a Sui, a Zap Lalo, whatever it is. We've then discussed the LavaLoon deployment itself, making sure to condense them points so you find all of the key bits. And I feel it's important to break down the attacks like this so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. You do need to section out the attack into the different areas. And my advice would be, if you are friendly challenging in order to try and perfect this, or maybe even multiplayer attacks, try and work on one part of this at a time. It's very difficult to focus on the entire aspect of the attack. You might just focus on the Queen Charge, then worry about perfecting your Lalo later. But let's move on to spell deployment, because it's really important that you get this part down as well. Now, it does depend on the entry. If you've used the Zap LavaLoon, then obviously you're not going to have as many spells. Maybe you've used the Queen Charge, you are committing Rage and Freeze spells to your Queen. You might not have too many planned for the LavaLoon, but just know that the Rage and the Freeze can very much be used for the LavaLoon if you don't need them for your Queen. So you might have transitional spells. The Freeze is actually really good for the LavaLoon, and what you're trying to do is freeze the major splash damages. That could be the Eagle Artillery, the Scatter Shots, the Multi-Target Inferno. Basically, all of your spells are going to be used for splash. So freeze the major splash. Haste spells are also your best friends. The balloons do an incredible amount of damage. You don't really need the rage spells unless it's a really key area in the center of the base. You do want to target the haste spells as much as you can. Just power the balloons forward, they will do the amount of damage they need to. So as you can see, coming down to the end of the base, this is where you might have to save onto the freeze and the haste, because you might have back end wizard towers, for example, as your balloons start to clump at the end. That's a point I forgot to make, actually, that you can save onto 1 or 2 balloons in terms of your deployment to try and send just 1 or 2 towards that back end wizard tower. Make it look at just 1 balloon instead of a group of 15 that is coming across. And also you might want to save onto 1 or 2 balloons for cleanup as well, but it all depends on the attack itself. That starts to get into real higher level stuff. What I would say in terms of the haste spells is try and use the hastes on the perimeter of the base. Try and push the balloons into the base to get to the splash damage and the major defenses as quickly as possible. So in this case, we're trying to get onto the eagle, take that down, get the wizard tower, keep the balloons up with the lava hounds as they're getting a little bit further away. The rage spells, like we said, if you don't need them for the queen charge, you might be able to use them, but you can use them in combination with the skeleton spells, and this can be really good for taking out enemy heroes, whether that be the royal champion or from Town Hall 9 and above, the enemy queen. If you can't get her with the entry, you only have a couple of methods. Dragons in your clan castle inside the Stone Slammer is one, but probably the more popular is using your rage spell to power the balloons over and away from that queen in combination with a skeleton spell, and you've seen that in this example taking out the royal champion. Again, coming down to the end of it, freeze spells with the skeletons in this one, because we only needed the one to get on the inside of the scattershot radius. Other things that you could consider, a heal spell is sometimes good if your balloons are coming together in the center of the base. Maybe to a lot of splash damages, heals can be used, but rage spells should only be used in the center of the base as well. Heals and freeze are definitely the best spells for you to use. So I promised you a little bit of a surprise at the end of the video, and here you go. The Lalo bats. I certainly hadn't seen the LavaLoon into bat spells before this war. Incredible stuff. We just talked about the spells. How about using bats? And let alone swagging most of your spells as well. You will see at the end of this attack. Incredible. Now, I hope this video has helped to break down the LavaLoon attack for you. I would like to, just whilst you're watching this amazing attack, let you know that it is a very high skill cap strategy. It's very difficult to learn, but I would definitely recommend it. If you can master the LavaLoon, it will see you well through Town Hall 9, Town Hall 10, Town Hall 11. You get the idea. Right of the way through, it is one of the top attacks in the game. So if you are going to be doing this, I would recommend, as I said earlier, breaking down the different stages. Do know that it takes a little bit of practice. A lot of people get frustrated when they first try an attack and it doesn't work for them. I'm definitely not an expert with the LavaLoon. Takes a lot of practice, but you will get there, guys. Just stick with the principles. I've tried to break it down as best as possible. This one was incredible. I got to cast the entire war with my good friend Carbon Finn. I'm actually going to link you in a second across to all of the live attacks by the Queen Walkers, including this one. And again, if you do want to catch my live streams, we are live on Twitch and Facebook. The links are in the description. Look at all of them swagged spells. Incredible. If you want to see all of the live attacks from this war, I've linked it right here. You might want to check that one out. But if not, I will catch you in the next video.